5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's go puzzling.
Hi, my name is Nana and welcome to my channel, A Puzzling Lamb. It is finally time to talk about the second ever Danish Speed Puzzling Championship. In this video, I will show you all the puzzles we got at the competition, tell you how I did, but I will also talk about everything else that was happening around the competition. So the event happened over 2 days and it was, of course, once again organized by the Danish Jigsaw Puzzle Federation? Association. I don't know. What's the difference between federation and association in English? That's the kind of stuff I should have checked before I started filming. Anyway, the Danish Jigsaw Puzzle Federation. Dansk Puslespilsforening. And once again, they did an amazing job. There were a photographer taking pictures throughout the event, and I will, throughout this video, show you some of those pictures. And every time I do, I will put his name up, the photographer's name up also, so you can see that is his pictures, because I also took a little bit of pictures myself. You will probably it will probably be pretty easy to tell who took what pictures. But anyway, I'll, of course, put that up on screen. One thing that was different this year than last year is that there were actually a live stream, which was really amazing. Obviously, I didn't watch much of it during the competition. There were actually some screens around the place where they had the results when they started coming in, but they also showed the live stream on those, so that was actually really great. Anyway, I'll also show you some footage from the live stream throughout the video, and if you want to watch the entire live stream, I will link them in the description down below. So you find the live stream on Dansk Puslespilsforening, the Danish Jigsaw Puzzle Federation's Facebook page. I'll link it down below. There weren't commentators all the time on the live stream, but when there were, it is in Danish, but still it can be really exciting to watch. I have, of course, after I came home, I watched all the live stream, and there were one cameraman and he did such a great job. It really looks professional, especially for a first time they're doing a live stream. He really was running around trying to catch all the finishes. Yeah, so I was just really impressed with that. And now I started talking about a little bit, so let's just jump right into how the whole thing was set up around the competition. So it wasn't held in the same place as last year. This last year was in Aarhus, this year was in Roskilde, and it was a bigger place, which was needed because there were a lot more participants this year. I'll get more into that when I talk about the competition itself. But anyway, there were a big room where the competition happened. It was very high ceiling, nice lighting, plenty of space. It was really nice. You couldn't, as a spectator, you couldn't be in the room itself. There were some big windows right outside the room, but there were some like film strips on it, so you couldn't really look through that, which is a bit of a shame as a spectator, but I think it was really nice as a participant if you had one of the tables right up that window. But there were another room where there were a giant window where you could actually look down at the competition space, which was really, really nice. So you could actually get a really great view of the last few rows, of the first few rows, of the competitors. And yeah, it was a really great spot to be as a spectator. And as I said, there were some screens where they had the results and the live stream going. And we were also several people who had the live stream on our phone, so we could also follow along like that. A great place, really. As last year, the Danish puzzle shop, online puzzle shop, they had a booth where they sold a lot of puzzles. This year they only had Ravnsburger puzzles. Personally, I think it was a bit boring that they only had Ravnsburger puzzles. But, that's just me. I don't really do a lot of Ravnsburger puzzles outside speed puzzling. But yeah, it looked like they sold quite a lot. Then, as last year also, there were a swapping table, so people could bring puzzles, put them on the table, swap them for something with the same piece count. Again, I didn't participate in that mainly because I didn't really feel like bringing a lot of puzzles with me to the competition, but it's a great idea. The Danish Federation had a booth selling some merchandise. I actually didn't buy anything there. I did buy a cup for my mother. I don't really use cups myself, so I didn't buy one for myself. I'll put up a picture of it. A cup with the Federation's logo on it. They also had the same stuff they had last year, where they had a tote bag and a box top holder. I bought those last year. I didn't need more of those, but yeah, a really nice booth. So again, just like last year, you could buy raffle tickets, which were puzzle pieces, and then you had to find the spot for your piece on the puzzle. I'll show you some pictures so you can see it. This year they had 2 puzzles. I think they were anticipating more people. And then when you found the spot for your puzzle piece, if there were a little colored dot where the piece goes, you had won a prize. And I will say the raffle was great last year. It was amazing this year. They had found some more sponsors for raffle prizes. So like last year, Puzzle Shop had sponsored some puzzles. There were a chocolate company, Simply Chocolate, had sponsored the competition, so you could win some chocolate at the raffle. There were also some chocolate pieces at the table at the competition for the competitors. That was great. Then PusleStudiet, the Danish puzzle store I've talked about a lot of times on my channel, he had also sponsored some. PusleStudiet, which is a newly created Danish online speed puzzling competition, also had sponsored some prizes. And then Puzzler, which is the place in Europe, the web shop in Europe to buy Pin2 and Peace Relax puzzles, had also sponsored. So there were a wide variety of prizes, and it was actually pretty great also. So if you won, then perhaps it was a purple dot, and then there were a lot of prizes with purple dots on them, and then you could pick freely among the prizes with purple dots. So you did have a little bit of a choice there, and I really loved that. I ended up buying quite a lot of raffle tickets, both because I wanted to support the Federation. It's also just a really fun concept, and also I really wanted to win something, and I did. So let me show you what I won. So first, and it's all Pin 2 puzzles, which I'm really happy with. I love Pin 2. So first is this one, which is it's a set of 2 puzzles with 80 pieces each. And actually, I have already done these. It's the artist Cotton Lion, and I know Sweet Dreams. So I actually put this one together the day I came home from the competition. I just really needed to relax with something easy. So you can see here the first of the puzzles. So the pieces are a little bit bigger, I think, than normal pieces. And as Pin 2 pieces, you can see it just holds together perfectly. So there's this one and this one. So that was a really lovely prize to win. The next one is a 1,000-piece puzzle. This one also really fun and colorful. I think that all of these spices are probably going to be quite easy, but then when there's only like the spoons and especially the table, it's probably going to be a bit difficult. This one is called Colorful Spices in Wooden Spoons. And this is probably my favorite of the ones I won. So this is a 1,600 piece. Beautiful, beautiful puzzle. So this is called Orca Night. The artist is Aya Trier. Probably not pronounced right. Pin 2's 1,600 piece puzzles. Oh, I don't know if all of theirs, but at least this one does come in multiple bags. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4 different bags. And I am most likely going to put it together in these separate bags. I'm not going to mix up all the pieces because I don't think this is the easiest of images, but so beautiful, and I'm really looking forward to it. And that's what I won myself. But then my mother came one of the days. She also participated quite a lot in the raffle, and she also won quite a lot. And one of the puzzles she very kindly gave to me. So she gave me this showpiece, Imagination. So this is a little bit different from other Pin 2 puzzles. So the image you see on the box here is not actually the image you're putting together. So you can see here, it's kind of like those wash-jig puzzles where you, for example, puzzle like how that image would look, but in present day, for example. And I think it's exactly the same concept, just with a art style that's much more me. But I'm really looking forward to putting it together. It's 1,000 pieces. I don't know if this one has a name. Historical Change. Yeah. Really looking forward to putting this together. So yeah, the raffle was really great. There were a lot of prizes you could win. And yeah, it was just a little bit more exciting this year since there were a lot more different sponsors for the raffle prizes. Loved that. And also, just back to the space, it was, as I said, it was a lot bigger this year. There were a lot more space. It was just, it was a really nice atmosphere. And as I also think I said in my video about last year's competition, even if you don't speed puzzle, if you have the chance to go to a competition like this, go. It's so much fun to meet people. I mean, then you stand there watching the competition and you just automatically start talking with the people around you, talking about puzzles and sharing your interest in puzzles and speed puzzle. And yeah, it's really, really amazing. And the Danish Federation did a great job organizing. But now, let's get into the competition itself. So as I said, it ran over 2 days. On the first day, we started with teams, and last year we ended with teams. We started with pairs, had individuals, and then ended with teams. This year it were a little bit different. So we started with teams, and I do really like with these competitions when you start with either pairs or teams, because, you know, I think a lot of people, me included, do get a bit nervous. And it's just nice for the first competition to have someone to share that nervousness and excitement with. So I really enjoyed that. And also, before I get too much into how I did at the competition, I can already reveal I did not came home with a trophy this year. So last year we came home with a trophy for 3rd place in teams. We finished 4th, but because the team that finished 3rd were international team, we got 3rd. So that didn't happen this year, but we knew that because there was so many more participants this year. The level really had risen a lot, so we were well aware of that. And with teams, last year there were 20 teams. This year, now I just have to double check here, this year we were 43 teams, so there were over double the amount of teams, so the competition was really tough. Again, like last year, international participants could participate, but to get on the podium you had to live in Denmark. But anyway, we opened up the puzzle, we were really excited, and we got this image. A pretty enough image. I do like that it's of a Danish castle. I think that's a nice touch. The Danish Federation was not the ones who picked out the images. That was Ravnsburger. Ravnsburger picked all the images. But I must say, I absolutely hate this puzzle, and from now on, I absolutely hate red roses. It was so difficult, and also as a team. So the first thing we did, turned over all the pieces, pulled out the edge. One of us started the sorting. I started on the castle. I pretty much did the whole castle. And Nina, one of my team members, also, just to show you, you can't really see it, but I am wearing our team's t-shirt. So our team name is En brik mere, which is one more piece in Danish. So it was me, and then Nina, Christine, and Christina. And Nina did most of the sky, I think. And, you know, there are a bit here, you can see there are some trees here that are a little bit more light. I also at some points put together this tree here, because when you looked really closely, you could see that that tree had a little bit of a different texture than the hedge there. Christina did the path down here, but in the end, we were just all 4 of us working on these flowers, and they were so difficult, not made any easier by the fact that they were on each side of the image like this, also not made easier by the fact that the tables we were working on were black. But yeah, it was so difficult. And also, once we passed the 1 hour mark and no team had finished yet, I also said to the others, okay, Lynpuslerne, the team that won last year, Lynpuslerne haven't finished yet after 1 hour. This is a difficult puzzle. So everyone struggled with this one. And we also had the slowest time we've ever had on a 1,000-piece puzzle together. I also think one thing that made it really difficult for us were that when we only had these red roses left, we ended up shape sorting the pieces, which I think were a really good tactic. But we hadn't really practiced shape sorting as a team and how to, you know, share the pieces like that, how to work like that. So it did make it, it was a difficult puzzle. The team that won, which was Lynpuslerne, just as last year, did it in 1 hour, 21 minutes and 36 seconds. If I remember correctly, I talked with one of them afterwards, also said that it's the longest time they've had on a puzzle as a team, I believe. I'm not quite sure. I think they said that, and yeah. Anyway, We finished in 2 hours and 22 seconds, which gave us 11th place. And we were actually really, really happy with that. As I said, there were over double the amount of teams this year. And this type of image, I mean, everyone thought it was difficult, but it's just, especially for me, it's just not me. This is not my strong suit. But yeah, we were really happy. And also, if you pull out all the international teams, we came in 8th place. We were the 8th best Danish team. So we were, even though it didn't give us a trophy this year, but we were really, really happy with that placement. And yeah, I don't know. Let me just tell you, this is simply called Rosenborg Castle, Denmark. Yeah, I don't know. It's a beautiful enough image, but it's just so difficult. And it's also, everything is kind of in shadow, and the sky was really hard, I believe. I didn't put together the sky, but you could just see the pieces. They were really the same color. I don't know if I'll ever do this puzzle again. Last year we had an amazing puzzle. I did it really quickly after the competition. I did it again because I just loved it so much. I don't know about this one. Anyway, we were really happy with our placement. And then, so my team members, as last year, I'm going to say just as last year a lot of times in this video, sorry about that. But we, split up in pairs. So my pair's partner was Christina, who's also a team member. Yeah. And Nina and Christine were paired together. And this year there were preliminary rounds. There weren't last year. Last year it was just a final. So I can't actually remember. Let me just check. So last year in pairs there were 72 participants. This year there were 63 in the first preliminary round and 61 in the second preliminary round. So you can see we were a lot more pairs this time. But all of my team members, we were all in the preliminary round B. So we had quite a lot of time before we puzzled again. But I have the puzzle they got for the preliminary round A because I just had to get my hands on the puzzles I didn't compete it in. I really wanted the full set of the 2025 competition puzzles. So I hurried up and bought them online. But anyway, they revealed the puzzle, they counted down, people opened the bag, and you should hear the sound. I couldn't hear it from inside the competition room, but outside as spectators when we saw what puzzle they got.
Oh my god.
Nej.
3, 2, 1, that's all.
They got this puzzle, and this is just evil. And again, it's Ravnsburger who chose this. It wasn't anyone in the Danish Federation who chose this. But they got this in the preliminary round A, and we were just all horrified. I mean, this is just evil. So I'll talk a little bit about at the end what I think of the image choices for this competition. But I mean, I get that, the puzzles should be a little bit more difficult, it's a national competition, but come on. It's just evil. I mean, when you look at the image, I think I'm actually kind of looking forward to doing it on my own, slowly. But I am never, ever, ever going to speed puzzle this puzzle. Anyway. Oh, also, just to show how difficult that team's puzzle is. So, again, we were 43 teams, and it was only 18 teams who finished in the time limit, which were 2.5 hours. So that also says something about the difficulty of that puzzle. This puzzle, again, there were 63 teams, and there were only 43 teams who finished. In pairs, we had 2 hours in the preliminary round and 1.5 hours in the final. And the 2 hours in the preliminary rounds, that's the same in the individual. It is a bit longer. Most competitions just have 1.5 hours for all the rounds. But I know that the Danish Federation really want this to be a good experience for as many people as possible. They really want people to join, even if they've never speed puzzled before, just to experience it. So I think it's a really good choice to give people 2 hours. And people needed it with this one. So yeah, the first pair to finish, Iris and Sofie, did it in 51 minutes and 21 seconds. Yeah, and that I think is a really, really, really impressive time on this one. Yeah, and again, I just have to remind you, the tables were black. I don't think that helped. Anyway, we saw they got this puzzle, and then we were really scared, because if they give them this puzzle in the first round, what perhaps would they give us? We were so scared, nervous. Yeah, it was a long wait until our turn. But then, when we opened ours, I mean, the whole room just did, I don't know, a collective sigh of relief, because we got this puzzle. It couldn't be more different from round A. So this one, I think it's just called, it's called Peanuts Graffiti. So look at it. I mean, this isn't the easiest puzzle either. There's a lot of text, but I mean, so much easier than the previous one. So Christina started on the edge, and I started on this yellow face up here. Also, pulled out some yellow for this. Then at some point, Christina got a bit stuck on the edge. I jumped onto the edge and also struggled a little bit with it. So we didn't finish the edge until quite late. But yeah, when I did pulled out for this phase and this here, I actually very quickly just noticed a lot of sections I could sort out. So, there's like this yellow scribbly stuff here. There's this text here with ha ha ha. The red here. So it was really easy to sort. Christina killed it with the text. She did so great. She did most of the text, actually. I did more like, the characters. And yeah, because text can be quite difficult. And, especially things like this, where it can be quite difficult to see what the letters actually are, but she just killed it. Yeah, and we did, I think, really, really well. We were so happy. It just flowed really well for us. We were never really stuck at any point. It was just a really great experience to do this puzzle. So the pair to finish this first was Astrid and Olivia, and they did it in 36 minutes and 54 seconds. So that's also quite a difference from the first puzzle. And yeah, there were 61 participants, and we finished in 12th place with a time of 51 minutes and 4 seconds. It also means that we very comfortably qualified for the final. We were so happy. And in both the pairs competition and the individual competition, from each qualifying round, the top 25 qualified. This year, they did it a little bit different with how they handled international competitors. So last year, it was the top 25 Danish competitors plus any international participants who finished in the top 25. So technically, it could be quite a lot of people. Actually, it could technically be 30 people who moved on to the final if there were 10 international participants in the top 25. This year, only 25 people went on to the final. And of those 25 people, 3 of them could be international participants. So if, for example, 4 international participants finished in the top 25, the last one of them wouldn't qualify, but then the one who ended up on 26th place, if that person was Danish, would then go on to the final. And I think it's really nice. First of all, like that, they know how many people qualify. So again, as I said last year, you could technically end up having a lot more people qualify and not have space for them at the final. Here they knew only 24 people qualified. And I think it's really nice to make room for international players. Also, I mean, still there are a lot of countries that don't have any or very few speed puzzling competitions, so it's nice that you can join other countries' competitions, but it's also nice that they don't take up too much room from people living in Denmark, since it is the Danish Speed Puzzling Championship. I think it's a really great compromise. But anyway, our 12th place secured us a place in the final. And then it was time for the final. And yeah, we were still really nervous about what puzzle we would get. It's just generally the thing with me at these competitions. I'm actually not that nervous about like how I do and how I place. It's just what puzzles we're going to get. But anyway, they had really scared us with that first of the pairs puzzles. We were a little bit more calm now after our round, which was a much easier puzzle. But still. And then we got this one. Again, this is just evil. I get that it's, it's a final. It can be a bit difficult, but I mean, come on. So here, when we turned over the pieces, we obviously, sorted it out. Water, green. And then Christina, she did the water. But I mean, it's not that big of a section. So last year in pairs, where there were only one round, we also got that awful Lupin's puzzle. But with that, the distribution of sky and flower were a lot more equal. Here it's just this small corner of water, so she did that pretty quickly. And then we just had all this green. So as you can see, there are a little bit of texture. So this, like, here in the middle, it's really difficult for me here in the middle, and there's also, a little bit of brown here. This was pretty easy. At some point, I could kind of like get some of these lines in that helped a lot. Got, there are a little bit of like texture differences. And again, I also have to remind you, on a black table. So, especially here, it was a nightmare. Pretty early on, when we only had green pieces left with shape sorted, that was a really great tactic for us. We could feel the moment we had shape sorted, things picked up a bit. Not only, could you then look for a specific shape, but at least for me, just the fact that the pieces were out in, neat rows like that, I could see the image on the pieces a lot better than when they were just, in a jumble. Yeah. Really difficult. And again, we had 1.5 hours for this. So we were, of course, 50 pairs here. The first pair to finish, Peter and Julia, they did it in 40 minutes and 8 seconds. Amazingly good time on this puzzle. Then there were 4 minutes and 9 seconds to the next, Stefan and Clara. And that's also, I think, with pairs, that's quite a big leap until the next pair finishes. And then on third place with 51 minutes and 47 seconds, again, 7 minutes and 40 seconds after the pair who finished second, again, a huge jump, was Iris or Sofie. So yeah, amazing times on this. Me and Christina, for the first time ever, experienced not finishing a puzzle in a competition. We were missing, there were 77 pieces left for us when the time ran out. But, when we saw this puzzle first, we just knew right away, okay, we are not going to finish this. We knew we weren't going to finish it. But I actually think we got a lot further than we thought we would. I took a picture of how it looked when the time had ran out. And it really was mostly this really dark section here we were missing. yeah, I honestly don't think I'm ever going to do this puzzle again. Hated it. So evil. Our team members, who are also pairs, they finished in 31st place with a time of 1 hour, 26 minutes and 43 seconds. So they just made it. They just finished it. That was really well done. We finished in 45th place out of 50 participants. So, perhaps not the placement we had hoped for when you look at how we placed in the preliminary round. But yeah, this is also the kind of image that I really haven't practiced speed puzzling. I have practiced landscape images, but one where it's just so similar. Yeah, not our kind of image. But that was the end of the first day. We were exhausted, and even though we got some really, really difficult puzzles, it started off with that awful castle. The castle was fine. Those awful roses. And getting really scared by the preliminary round A, and then got a really nice image, and then a really awful image at last. Yeah. Now we were really scared for the next day, which were the individual competitions. So, as I've said, with that there were also 2 preliminary rounds, and I was in round A. And last year I pretty comfortably made it to the final, but I did not expect to make it to the final this year. In my preliminary round, I was in the first one, and there were 82 participants, and that was about 80% more participants than there were in my preliminary round last year, but it was the same amount of people who would go on to the final, so it was a lot more difficult to qualify this year, and also just in general. So, okay, I have practiced a lot, especially like in the last 1 or 2 months up until the competition. I've practiced a lot, but I also knew that I was perhaps just a little bit better than I was last year, but I knew that there were a lot of people who had really gotten better since last year. So not only were there, percentage-wise, fewer people going on to the final, but I also knew that the competition would be tougher. So I knew I probably wouldn't go on to the final. Anyway, we were really scared. We knew what Ravnsburger could do now. Yeah, but we opened it up, and it was this puzzle we got. And I will say, had this been the first puzzle of the competition, I would have thought, something I can't say here. I hate this because, flowers like this, really difficult for me. I also think buildings like that can be quite difficult. Not at all my type of image, this, not my strong suit. But, knowing what they could do, I was just really relieved to get this one. So I didn't pull out the edge. I just turned over all the pieces. I very quickly spotted the roof here of the house, took those out, but didn't start with them. I actually did them at the end. And I don't know if I could have saved a little bit of time by not pulling them out. It's one of those things. The time I spent pulling out those pieces, did I save that by then not having to look through those pieces when I looked for other things? I don't know. But anyway, I did that. I did this piece here of path pretty quickly. There are a little bit, this wood here. And then it just took me a bit too long to spot the different kind of flowers. It was just a bunch of flowers for me. And then at some point, I really saw, okay, there are the yellow flowers, there are these purple flowers, there are these, I don't know what are called in English. And yeah, again here, there are some blue flowers, there are some white, then I could really see the different flowers and sort them out like that. But it took me a bit too long. I had these purple flowers sorted out pretty quickly, and tried to do them several times, but for some reason I just really struggled with those. I don't know why. This here were quite easy to spot. There's kind of like a different, some different colors and textures there. I was a bit scared by these flowers, pink roses here, also because they're on both sides of the image. But then when I did it, they actually came together quite easily. There are some different kinds of roof here I did pretty quickly. Yeah. And then, as I said, I ended up with the roof there at the end. And I actually think I did pretty good with this image. For me, again, this is really not my kind of image. The first person to finish this, Iris, did it in 42 minutes and 22 seconds. I did it in 1 hour, 11 minutes and 3 seconds. I do think this is one where when I do it again, I will improve my time drastically. Because, as I said, then I'll really spot out all those different flowers really quickly. My time gave me a 30th place. Is that how you say it? 30th place. Yeah, so I didn't qualify for the final. But I was actually only 1 minute and a few seconds from qualifying. So I was actually pretty close because there were so many international players in the top 25. So the person who finished in 27th place actually also qualified. And that person did it in 1 minute, 9 seconds. 1 hour. Sorry, didn't do it in 1 minute. 1 hour, 9 minutes and 57 seconds. So I was actually time-wise really close to making it to the final. But yeah, I was still happy with my time. It is the kind of time I would expect from me from such an image. I don't, except taking a bit too long to recognize the different flowers. There's not like some major mistakes I can think back on, or if I just hadn't done that, I would have made it. So yeah, actually pretty happy with that. And then after that was it for me. I didn't qualify to the finals. I was in group A, so I just had a whole day. But it was actually kind of nice to just be able to breathe out, and just enjoy being there. So I had some lunch. Christina, who was also in that round with me, she didn't qualify either. She bought a 1,000-piece puzzle from Puzzle Shop's booth, and we found a table up in that room where you could look down at the competition. And we just started putting that puzzle together, and it was so nice, slowly. And people came, joined us. We talked, went again. Some new people came, joined us. It was just really, really nice. And then, of course, I also have the puzzles for the next rounds I want to show you, even though I didn't participate. So in round B, I didn't mention what it was called. I actually also don't think I mentioned what this awful one we got in the pairs final. That one is called Epic Journey. There was nothing epic about that journey. And the one I got for my individual was called Charmant. Is that a word? Cottage. I know you can see it there if it will focus. There, you can see. And then the one they got in round B, quite similar to the one we got. They got this one. And this one is called Glorious Garden Center. And as an image, I like this one better. Still not quite my style, but as an image, I like this one better. To speed puzzle, I think I like the one I got better. But yeah, I managed to get one of these puzzles. So one of the people who joined us at that 1,000-piece puzzle we were putting together slowly, we just talked, and I mentioned I really wanted to get my hands on all the competition puzzles. She said, I have an extra. I don't know why she had. I have an extra. Take mine. So she just gifted me this. So kind. I mean, come on. Puzzle people are the best. Anyway, I have it now. Quite looking forward to trying to speed puzzle this to see how I would have done in that round. I think this one is more difficult. I don't know. I just think some of these flowers, with mine at least, the roof was also quite difficult, but it were a big chunk of pieces I could pull out. There were a bit more sky. Yeah, I don't know. So let's see. In my round, the fastest time was 42 minutes, 22 seconds. In this round, the fastest time, Sophie, was 42 minutes, 28 seconds. So it does look like they might be quite equal to each other in difficulty. I also kind of like that, compared to the pairs competition, where the puzzles are so different from each other, I don't mind them being different from each other between the preliminary rounds, also just so you can't, predict what the next round is going to get. But just the fact that, some people had an awful experience and other people had a really great experience, I think that is a bit of a shame. They can be different without, one being an awful puzzle and one being a great puzzle. But these, they also quite similar, but still not quite the same. I don't know. I also really like this combination here. Yeah, looking forward to doing it. So in that round, my other team members were in Nina and Christine. Christine didn't qualify, but Nina did. She actually did really, really well. She came in 15th place. Yeah, so that was really great. So one of us got to the final, so we could cheer her on during the final. And then in that, they got a puzzle that were completely different from the preliminary rounds. They got this puzzle. So this one is just called Chameleon. And my first thought when I saw this was just like, oh, now I really don't mind not making it to the final. Yeah, I was actually a little bit excited to see, because as I said, I didn't expect to go to the final. But I was also a little nervous that when I didn't go to the final that I would anyway still feel disappointed and, sad about it. But it was fine. I really didn't mind making it to the final. And then when I saw this, I was just like, yeah, now it really, really doesn't mind. But anyway, a beautiful puzzle. So this one and the awful glacier puzzle from the first round pairs, it's those two I bought. I actually bought them just when I saw what this puzzle was. I just hurried up online and bought them. And yeah, also a really difficult puzzle. But this one, I think, is difficult in the way that, we are in a final, in a national competition. It should be difficult, but it's not, a killer. It's not completely impossible. I'm really looking forward to trying to speed puzzle this, see how I would have done if I had made it to the final. It's a beautiful image, not my style, but yeah, looking forward to trying it. So, the times for this one. So again, in the final, 50 pieces participated. 47 of them completed the puzzle. That's really great. That's what you want to see. And the first place was Clara with 52 minutes and 19 seconds. Second place, Olivia, 55 minutes, 42 seconds. It's a lot of numbers here. And then third place, Astrid with 55 minutes and 49 seconds. So only 17 seconds slower than second place. Yeah. Great times on this puzzle. Yeah, looking forward to trying it. So, some final thoughts for me about the competition. It was amazing. It was so much fun. I'm really looking forward to next year. It was organized really, really well. It was really lovely that there were a live stream. It was so much fun to be able to look back at that after the competition. And again, the whole setup with the screens, with the live stream and the results and the different booths there were, the raffle, the place it was held, everything was great. I also like the distribution of the competitions, that we had one day where it was pairs and teams and one day with individual. It just flowed really well. The whole thing was just organized beautifully. So the only negative thing I have to say is to Ravnsburger, and it is the choices of puzzles. So for the individual round, or competition. I think they did great. I think that those flowery puzzles were, some little bit difficult puzzles, but really not impossible. Again, the difficulty level was higher in the final. That's fine. I think that's correct that it should be that. But, again, not impossible. Most people were able to finish the puzzle. But the images they chose for the first day, I really think it's a shame. I think that especially for a country where speed puzzling is such a new thing, it's the second time it's held, a big part of the participants, it will be the first time they ever participate in a speed puzzling competition. So if you go to the competition think, oh, this might be fun, I'll try it, you get those awful red roses, and then you get the awful gletscher, and then perhaps you get to the final, get that awful green hill. What are the chances you want to try again next year? You think, oh, the competitions are that hard, I can't do that, I don't want to do that, it wasn't fun. So I really think, especially when the competition is so new for the country, I really think, I think it's a big shame that they chose such difficult puzzles, some of them really impossible unless you're like at the top level. I think it's a shame. I really hope they don't do that to us again. Like last year it was great. We got those Lupins as pairs, which were difficult, but as a pair it was okay. And then we also in the individual got some, pretty difficult images, but it was still fun images. I think most people enjoyed it, and the team's puzzle was also lovely, so I really don't know what happened this year. I honestly think, especially that glacier, I think that's just wrong using that in a competition. I honestly think it's wrong. I know it's a national competition, it should be difficult, but these are basically the only competitions that are in Denmark, and like, I just, even at Worlds, I think it would be wrong to use that kind of image. Yeah. So that's the only negative thing, but still, even with those awful puzzles, I came away feeling amazing. I think I did really well, and just, the whole atmosphere around the competition, and everyone took it really well with those puzzles. We have something to joke about now. We really have something to joke about now. I mean, as I said, puzzle people are the best. It's just wonderful to spend 2 days in such nice company, meeting people, talking about puzzles. Yeah, I love it. Seriously, if you have the chance to go to a competition, just as a spectator, go. And now, for next year, as I said, I'm really looking forward to next year. And I definitely plan to participate in teams and in pairs, because I really love those competitions. It's just so much fun to have someone to share with it. I am seriously considering not participating in individual, not because, I only want to do it if I do really well. But if I know that I'm not going to make it to the final, if I know I'm only going to participate in one competition, in one round, I think it would be much more fun for me to be a volunteer, to be a judge, to be in the room and, take down people's time. So I'm really considering that. I'm quite excited to see when they open up for people to register for the competition, if I can hold on to that feeling, or if I'm going to, want to participate in individuals still. But I am seriously considering that, because the thing I love about these competitions is the social aspect of it. Again, love teams, love pairs. Perhaps I'd enjoy more being a judge at the individual competitions. And just in general, my speed puzzling plans for the future. So, I really love speed puzzling, but it's not the thing I love the most about puzzling. But I really do love it. I'm not going to really go into training. I'm not going to train every day from now on, practice every day from now on. It's probably going to be that once a week thing, like I did this up to this year, and then the last month or two up until the competition, do a lot more training there. So again, also, I just know everyone else are going to just get better and better and better. And I'm probably just going to like stay at the level I am now. So yeah, my chances at making it to a final is just going to go down each year. So yeah. Anyway, I'm going to participate in online competitions, especially PusleStudiet, Puzzle Race DK, the Danish online competitions that are newly started. I talked about. I'll link their website and their YouTube channel in the descriptions. You can go watch that. I have already participated in the first 3 competitions they had, and the next 4 I also am registered for. I got those puzzles a few days ago, and I really love that. I'm probably also going to participate in some Euro Jigsaw Jams. I'll also link them down below. I have an affiliate link for the Jigsaw Jams that if you want to buy any of those or any of the other puzzles they sell on their site, you can use my affiliate link. It doesn't cost you anything. I just get a small commission if you use that link. Anyway, so I am going to participate in some competitions, and I am going to train. I do think this is fun, but don't worry, my channel isn't going to transform into a speed puzzling YouTube channel. It really is like, my main hobby here is just slow puzzling. This is a side thing. Yeah, and also I am not planning to go to any of the other competitions in other countries. So the Nordic competitions is coming up, which my team members Nina and Christine are going to. There's also the European Championship this year, right? Not going to that. I'm not going to World. Again, Nina and Christine are actually going to the World. So I'm really looking forward to watching the live stream here back home and cheering them on. Yeah. I can feel I'm going to start rambling now. A big thank you to Dansk Puslespilsforening, the Danish Puzzle Federation, for putting on such an amazing event. Despite the awful puzzles, the atmosphere was great. Everything just went smoothly. Such amazing experience. This is why I do it. I don't do it to get on the podium. That was just amazing and unexpected last year. That's not why I do it. I do it to meet all of the lovely puzzle people out there. And yeah, so looking forward to next year. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like and consider subscribing. See you next time.